I'm John Anderson. My sport, it's definitely show jumping. I started this tournament, I wanted to give something back. No, the road hasn't been easy. Yeah, I thought about quitting. Watching from the sidelines. Well, it's all about the thrill of the chase. Well, with guts, you get the glory. There's been some great times.
A view of the dramatic skyline of the city of Calgary from Aspen Ridge, nestled in the foothills of the Canadian Rockies, a dramatic venue for the Audi Producers Cup. This is oil and gas country. This is horse country, and today the two come together just south of Calgary, Alberta. Course designer Linda Allen first arrived in this part of the world some 30 years ago and quickly showed everyone why she was one of the dominant forces in American show jumping. After a career at the top of Grand Prix show jumping, she became legendary as an international course designer, having both World Cup finals and Olympic Games to her credit. And today she authors the test at Aspen Ridge for the Audi Producers Cup. Absolutely spectacular conditions with the threat of showers off in the distance bubbling up over the Rocky Mountains. An international entry here today to take on the test of Linda Allen here at Aspen Ridge.
We're ready to go with this competition. It's a $55,000 Audi.
Well, we'll start off south of the border, Pollyanna, with Guillermo Obligado. From Argentina, he's our first to go in competition aboard El Capricho Farmer. Beautiful chestnut horse with Guillermo in for the ride. Clears will advance to the jump-off in our international entry as he makes his way into the jumping facility here with a last perusal of the course. You've walked the course, you've looked at the details, Pollyanna. What are the tests and what can we expect?
Well, Ian, there's many tests on course. It's a Linda Allen style of course. She asks a lot of questions of both horse and rider throughout the course, especially towards the end of the course. The triple combination to the last fence. The last fence is planks, and it is a very difficult fence, a very big fence. Guillermo has a tough position here. He's first out. Always the Pathfinder has a tough position because they haven't seen this course ridden. They're the first ones to ride the course, see the tests. All the other athletes get a chance to watch Guillermo and see how he handles this course.
Well, I think we've had this discussion before. He has no opportunity to amend his plan. Sometimes that can be beneficial, but often there are tricks, technical questions that the riders don't see in their initial walk of the competitive ring. So far, so good for Argentina's Guillermo Obligado.
And there's been a lot of rain on course. You can sort of see the turf's a little bit mushy. There's been quite a bit of water down on the turf, and that always causes some problems. There's some questions on corking, so Guillermo hasn't been able to see what kind of sliding that this horse might get into, what kind of problems that can create, whereas the other athletes now can see he's standing up pretty well. This is that tricky line, Ian, that we spoke of at the beginning, the triple combination.
So far, so good for our first entry on course. The tricky planks towards the final line. 4 faults. And heartbreak for Argentina as Guillermo Obligado finishes up with 4 jumping faults. Clears will advance to the jump-off, and or all those tied for first, but I suspect we will see some clear rounds. Guillermo Obligado finishing up here at the beautiful Aspen Ridge facility. Will Simpson of California next to go into the ring with the El Campeón stable. This is El Campeón's Cayenne. Argentina currently leading the way in the Producers Cup. Here goes Will Simpson. Cayenne having a little problem settling here into the ring. Lots of new things, and this is a very wide open course. It doesn't really have a stadium environment, say, that you would see in Auckland or Dublin or Spruce Meadows. Big jumping, but very wide open. Sometimes it's tough to keep the horses focused at what's going on right inside the confines of the ring.
Well, you can see the horses warming up behind. That can be a distraction for the horses. You can see Will SImpson was trying to get Cayenne focused, even starting the ring. They can see so far away, and this is a distraction for this ring.
Second rail for Will SImpson over the Audi signature obstacle.
Now Will just has to settle down. Now we're into a situation where he's got to give Cayenne a good experience. He's got to, next time Cayenne comes into the ring, he's had another rail there. This horse is just completely distracted. It's not focused on the job at hand.
Seeming to settle in through the triple combination with one obstacle left, carrying 12 jumping faults. Time will not be a problem for Will SImpson of the United States. El Campion's Cayenne finishing up with 12 jumping faults. 10 seconds under our time allowed, so no problems there for Will.
And this was his first problems at the Beaver drilling fence. He just gets in a little tight. The horse isn't focused. You can see he's not paying one bit of attention to the job that he's supposed to be doing, which is clearing the fences.
Talk about a great veteran in this sport and one of the great inspirations for this tournament's organizer, John Anderson. Joe Fargis of the United States, multiple Olympic medalist, and a man that was very instrumental in John Anderson rising to the top of the sport in Canada and representing this country in both Olympic and World Championship competition. Joe Fargis aboard Edgar for our first clear round still. Let's see if this veteran has what it takes.
Joe Fargis is one of those classical riders. You'll see that he doesn't really look like, he doesn't make a lot of moves. He sits very quietly on the horse. He really lets his horses do the job. It doesn't look like Joe is doing so much when in fact, you know, he's one of the great riders in the sport.
Very efficient, a man who has the ability to get a lot out of a lot of different types of horses. When you think of some of his great horses like Mill Street Pearl, how drastically different that horse was from Classic Touch or indeed from Edgar.
A little bit of a lucky bounce. You can bounce the rail up in the cup. That doesn't constitute 4 faults. You have to lower the actual height of the obstacle in order to get 4 faults. You can see there, that was beautifully ridden. It's a 4-stride. Joe just moved Edgar up a lot, but he didn't have a big move. He started the move, so when the horse got there, it got to the optimum takeoff spot. This is really well ridden.
Oh, the triple combination coming out of. And with that 4 faults, we will not see a clear round here from Joe Fargis as he finishes up over those tricky planks. And with that, time of 88.16. The United States goes tied equal to the top of the standings with Argentina's Guillermo Obligado. Watching the Audi Producers Cup on TSN, part of the Audi Classics Tour. There's a lot more going on in the foothills of the Canadian Rockies than just show jumping at Aspen Ridge.
It's a great day here in the foothills, and on behalf of Audi Canada, as part of the $300,000 Audi Classics Tour event, we're pleased to have been partnered with and helped to contribute to the Children's Wish Foundation of Alberta.
Plenty of benefits to the Children's Wish Foundation here as Jim Ifko comes into the ring, a young man who was raised just down the road from Aspen Ridge with his big Hanoverian mare Lillian, getting ready to see if they can put Canada into the standings here. 2-4 faults currently lead the way. Joe Fargis of the United States, Guillermo Obligado of Argentina. Let's see if this course, as designed by Linda Allen, can be jumped fault-free. Lillian is on course now with Jim Ifko.
This is not the best type of arena for Lillian because it is so distracting. As you can see there, the first fence down. It's hard for Jim because Lillian is that type of horse. She looks around, she sees the outside, and this ring, just by nature, allows those horses, as we said, to really be distracted by what's going on outside the perimeters of the arena.
By nature, it is almost within nature here, the wide open spaces of southern Alberta, and Lillian, the big Hanoverian mare stretching out over the water, likes the wide open spaces sometimes.
A little bit of a mistake on Jim's part too, because Lillian is a mare and she does tend to get quite excited. He was trying to keep her so calm, so relaxed, that maybe it was an approach that was just too relaxed for that first fence.
Second fence now coming down, that big Audi signature fence, which has caused a few problems at this stage of the competition, with plenty still to come.
This horse is just not handling the oxers well. It's not getting across. It's having the back rails down. It's having the front rails down. It's really having no respect for the rails, as we would say.
Case in point right here through the triple combination, just basically dismantling it for 12 faults in 3 jumping efforts as they come home now. Jim Ifko certainly has had better days with Lillian, finishing up nicely over that final vertical, but 24 faults does not help the cause here for Canada's Jim Ifko.
And I don't like that in a horse, Ian. A horse, when it knocks a fence down, you want it to come back and jump that next fence higher. You want it not to want to knock fences down. And Lillian certainly didn't take that kind of attitude on the course.
To the United States we go, Malibu, California specifically, for Ray Texel, who is undertaking the summer tour here in Alberta with a very high quality string of horses. Case in point is Pershing, his chosen mount here on this round, the Westphalian mare, 16 hands tall. 1992 model, just coming into the prime of her career. Let's see if this course can indeed be jumped clean by Ray Texel.
Ian, I really like the way Ray Texel rides. He's one of those riders that gets up and over the horse. He's very athletic. So when the horse is in the air, if you watch Ray, he never interferes with the biomechanics of the horse while it's jumping, and that's very important.
Well, he's not only a naturally talented rider, but you can see that he's been well grounded in equitation by the likes of George Morris, who he trained with for a number of years, and his accomplishments in that area of show jumping are indeed very high, having been a medalist in the AHSA medal and Maclay finals in the 1980s, and now using that efficiency, as you say, Pollyanna, to help his horses around the ring.
And he's doing a very good job of keeping Pershing concentrating on the fences. You'll see this horse, its ears are forward, it's looking to the next fence, it's not looking beyond into the perimeters of this arena.
The triple has caused lots of problems today. Let's see how Pershing cruises through. Nicely. To the top of the standings goes the United States. That's the first clear round today, posted by Ray Texel aboard Pershing.
With a clear round for Ray Texel.
Next into the ring will be the tournament chairman and a man who's now focused on show jumping, John Anderson.
Next to go is
I did get up early this morning, took Dunvegan out for a real nice hack. It's really actually quite hard to ride at your own tournament. You get so much else to do. I almost think it's the time to step down from riding here, but I'm just too much of a competitor. And there's $55,000 up for grabs today in the Audi Producers Cup, so I want to be there.
35 years of age, and his 30-year love affair with the sport of show jumping continues. John Anderson into the ring right now aboard BMO Nesbitt Burns Dunvegan, the hanging tongue gelding.
This horse does stick its tongue out a little bit like Michael Jordan. Sometimes that can cause problems, Ian. When the horse has its tongue out, it's maybe not as sensitive to the bit in its mouth, and you have to always, that's part of this sport. You have to keep these horses under control. There's certain types of bits, different types of bits that the riders will use in their mouths that work specifically for the personality of the horse.
So far, the big gelding is on the bridle. Light Kraut there over the oxer.
This is a very difficult position to be in, and you saw there the 4 faults coming down on the Audi fence. Another 4 faults. To ride and organize a tournament is very difficult, and maybe we're seeing that with John a little bit at this tournament. He like Dunvegan, has to stay focused, and if you're running a tournament, it's not always so easy.
Plenty of balls in the air for John Anderson. Right now he's focused on keeping it at 8, but he is not fortunate to do that, carrying 12 into the triple combination as the big Mecklenburg gelding powers through there with 1 obstacle left. Will not impact our leaderboard here at Aspen Ridge today.
The other interesting thing is, Ian, Dunvegan schools here, trains here. It's not often he sees all these fences. He doesn't see this kind of crowd, and that can be very distracting and actually a disadvantage for a hometown horse.
Maybe not as impressed as he should have been today. 12 faults as they finish up. Welcome back to the Producers' Cup on TSN, where a light shower in the foothills of the Alberta Rockies has produced a light dusting of snow just west of here. Hap Hansen gets ready to take the test. Hap Hansen aboard Magnetic, the great veteran from Encinitas, California, who has quietly taken about $1 million out of this area over a great career, being a regular not only at Aspen Ridge but also at Spruce Meadows, and former North American show jumping champion. Starts things off not so prettily here with Magnetic. Bit of a heavy rail to start things off.
That first fence has caused some problems. You can see with Linda Allen, usually they say the course designer gives the first fence as a little bit of a gift, that it's the fence to get you into the course. But here she starts right off the bat asking a question, asking the horses to stretch out. He didn't jump that water very well, but I don't think he had a foot in it.
This big stallion's a bit of a heavy goer, really patting the ground hard. That's had a little rainfall on it today. It's very comfortable out, about 24 degrees. But there are showers threatening, bubbling up over the foothills here. No shadows on course though, Pollyanna.
No, that always helps. Horses, just like any athlete, they have a preference to the type of footing they like to jump out of, and maybe perhaps Magnetic started this course, was a little unsure of the footing, and that could have caused that first rail.
Hap Hansen letting up on the gas here, trying to get Magnetic back on the bridle, but having problems in the triple there with 2 rails down. And not such a great day for the great veteran from Encinitas, California. He finishes up with 16 faults. 1 clear to date. The United States, Ray Texel alone at the top of the standings as we get ready to welcome Rosen Rachev onto the course. Rosen Rachev from Bulgaria. great entourage of European riders touring Alberta this summer as part of the Spruce Meadows Summer Tour, and of course the Producers Cup here at Aspen Ridge.
We saw with Hap Hansen and Magnetic, that last line is very difficult. The triple combination, it's 2 verticals to an oxer. Those 2 verticals are quite tight, and then you have to ask your horse to lengthen its stride for 2 longer strides to get out over top of that oxer. And the riders are starting now to realize, so we'll either see they'll become a little bit aware of how difficult that line is, and that can cause problems because they start to mentally already have the problem before they ever get there, or they'll start to figure that line out.
Well, this big chestnut had a foot in the water there. See the judge's arm go up. Rosen is a veteran of both the Olympics and World Championships, finishing in the top 20 at the Sydney Games.
That horse didn't jump that in and out at all well, but I think the problem actually came at the Audi fence. Rawson didn't find a very nice distance and got the horse a little rattled, and you saw 3 fences down after he caused that problem.
Well, the big Dutch stallion isn't giving a championship-type performance today as they make their way quietly down to the big vertical to finish things up and pop over it nicely, but with 4 rails down and a foot in the water, they finish up with 20 jumping faults.
And here you can see that first problem in the in and out. The horse doesn't even jump B at all well. Its legs don't come up where it should. It just jumped into that top rail.
Well, we've been very impressed with this next entry, sort of a welcome new name on the international tour this summer. Ramiro Quintana of Argentina. He's simply been awesome in terms of his confidence, his speed, his ability to ride. He's a very quiet rider, seems to have great equitation in his background. He presently trains with Joe Fargis in the United States. He's from Argentina, and I think it's a name to remember, Ramiro Quintana.
He rides very much like his trainer, Joe Fargis. He's very quiet on his horse. He doesn't, as we said with Joe, he doesn't really look like he's doing a lot. He doesn't make a lot of moves. He sort of keeps his horse at a consistent pace, a consistent length of stride. He's got a great eye, as we say. He can find that optimum takeoff spot, so it makes it easy for the horse. Ian, I really like how this young man rides.
"24 years of age, began training in the United States when he was 18 after a life with the horses in his native Argentina."
I think the key to this triple combination is you want to come right down the center, because as you can see, those 2 verticals are actually sloped opposite ways. So if you jump on the lower side, you get the higher side on the B element.
Well, he really drifted, but make sure he got back to the center for the C element, and he finishes up to force the jump off. Perfecto for Ramiro Quintana of Argentina, as Argentina joins the United States, specifically Ray Texel.
He rode that a lot like Ray Texel. Not a lot of mistakes on course, no mistakes on course. He really did an absolutely fabulous job.
To Germany we go next. Florian Meyer-Zuhartum, who's currently training with Ray Texel. He's aboard Larius W. Very, very signature-like German style, sitting deep in the saddle, really driving with his back. Let's see if a European entry can join the United States and South America in our jump-off to date.
Oh, that horse didn't like hitting that back rail of the oxer, and that you like to see that in a horse. So if it hits a fence, it doesn't like to touch it. And it jumped that water so well. You can see it gave it a lot of room, and that oxer, and you really like to see that in a horse.
Well, Larius is an 11-year-old Holsteiner stallion, big strong horse with a big strong rider on his back right now.
Florian's doing a good job because this horse can be a little bit spooky. You saw there, it lost a little focus, and he's keeping the horse focused on the fences and not looking out around.
Requires a strong ride. He'll need it here as they move towards the last part of the Audi Producers Cup course. Coming into the combination now, trying to get this big stallion back on the bridle. Oh, problems.
Big problems.
Well, Larius wanted nothing to do with the B element. Problems off A, elimination from the combination. What on earth happened, Pollyanna?
Well, you'll see when Florian rides to this triple combination, he'd ridden this course so well, and then he makes a big mistake. You can see he takes a little short stride. The horse can't even get out over that A element. The rail gets caught up in the horse's legs. It can't find that one stride, and of course stops at B, and Florian comes off. You can see again that little short stride. The horse carries that rail all the way to B. It can't leave the ground, and Florian, he comes off.
The foothills of southern Alberta provide a dramatic setting for the Audi Producers Cup on TSN. 2 clear rounds to date. The United States and Argentina will be advancing to the jump-off, and looking to make it 3 will be our next entry from the United States, Mary Moricoli. She's got a lovely little mare, Lisa. This horse has been very, very impressive this year. Just a game player, and it's more like a pet to Mary. But they have a great chemistry, and they're maybe playing a little bit over their heads, but it's working for them, and they're having wonderful success and a great time doing it.
Well, it's not from lack of talent on Lisa's part. Lisa's a very talented horse. In fact, one of my favorites of the competition. Mary, though, is a true amateur. And to be at this level, sometimes you need a little more experience than perhaps Mary has. However, on a horse like this, always she's going to look after Mary. And the nice thing about Lisa is that if Mary makes a mistake, she doesn't always have to pay for it. Lisa will get her out of many situations when there is a bit of a problem. But Mary's doing a super job here.
Well, I think a horse like this brings the best out of whether it be an amateur or a professional in the tack. And Lisa is a 1993 Dutch-bred mare. Presumably plenty of years left, and has a great confidence level going with her rider right now.
This is that tricky combination. You can see Mary added the stride and really rode it extremely well.
Hunted right down the middle of it, as you said, was really the best way to go down that white line. And in doing so, posts a clear round for the United States in a quick time, 84.39. We know that Lisa's got wheels, and they have advanced to the jump-off. Which brings us to Canada's next entry, Tanny Ziedler, who has spent a number of years working on her game in Europe, now returning for the summer here in Canada with her trainer, Katie Prudent, formerly Katie Monahan of the United States. Tanny Ziedler aboard Van Holland next to go.
And Tanny has seen this type of competition. She's competed in Europe. She's been at this level for a number of years now. And so what she needs to do today, Van Holland's a very experienced horse at this level. She just needs to, sometimes Tanny gets a little distracted. She needs to stay focused.
The 11-year-old Bay Gelding looks sharp today. You can really tell the European experience. Tanny rides forward, a lot more speed in her game than a number of years ago.
That was a very nice ride down that line. Straight down the middle. You can see Tanny finds that optimum takeoff spot. A little tight on that first part of that line. However, you can see she really adjusted for it, moved up, got to the oxer in the perfect position. This horse is jumping very well, Ian. He doesn't really want to touch a fence.
Takes him right down the middle of the triple, as we have encouraged them to do. It seems to be the route, and now onto these planks that have come down a number of times, but not for Canada's Tanny Ziedler, as the Maple Leaf now advances to the jump off to join the United States and Argentina. And we'll have plenty of action from the first round and the jump off when we return to Aspen Ridge with the Audi Producers Cup on TSN. Clear rounds have been a rare commodity at Aspen Ridge today. However, 4 horse rider combinations have mastered the Linda Allen course and earned a ticket to the jump off. As we move to France for our next entry, Henri Prudent aboard Zipria. Ian Allison along with Pauliana Hardwood-Brown with the Audi Producers Cup for 50 grand up for grabs today, Pauliana, with the biggest names in international show jumping.
Linda Allen has done a very good job of this course. We've seen problems all over the course. That's a very good sign of a good course designer. You don't want one fence causing a lot of problems. But where we've really seen a big issue is the triple combination towards the end of the course. It's a tough triple combination, and that's where most of the issues have come.
Great sound out on the ring here. You can hear the ground in front of some of these fences starting to maybe break up a bit. Some of the riders getting off the beaten track for the firmer ground from the light rain that had fallen on the course earlier in the day. There's the test of the triple. Problems for Henri Prudent. He just about came out of the tack on the B element there.
Well, it's hard to fault the horse on that. That horse jumped B so well, it jumped Henri right out of the tack, and he just wasn't, he couldn't get the horse ready for C, and it had to stop.
That'll shake your nerves a little bit. The veteran Frenchman deciding to retire from competition here as he went for a bit of a ride he wasn't expecting. As we look at one of the great names in Canadian show jumping, the name Miller. This is the next generation, Jonathan. Jonathan Miller aboard Jacquette. Jonathan Miller, of course, the son of Canadian show jumping legend Ian Miller, who during this summer of 2001 was part of a tour on the European side of the Atlantic. Jonathan choosing to come and spend the summer with his partner Laura Kraut in southern Alberta, and he's got a new mount for him actually. This is a horse that Laura typically rides. Jonathan has drawn the card today for the Audi Producers Cup, and let's see how Jacquette responds to the 6'5" Jonathan Miller up in the tack.
We spoke about Ray Texel and being athletic and not interfering with the biomechanics of the horse on top of the fence. You'll see that with Jonathan. If you watch him right over top of the fence, he's tall. However, he doesn't interfere with the horse. He's very athletic. He gets up on top of the horse.
Well, it was about 7 years ago he had to make the decision as to whether or not continue the Miller tradition or take a basketball scholarship to the United States. He made a great choice. He spent a number of years training and competing in Europe and has now returned to North America.
He's a real technician when he rides. He's really, when he comes out of the ring, he's the type of rider that knows exactly what the horse has done all the way around the course. And sometimes it causes him some problems, although it's not causing him a problem right at the moment. He almost overanalyzes sometimes.
Son of peeking out as it has been all afternoon, but not providing any sunshine over the final fence. Look at this, 4 faults for Jonathan Miller.
And actually, when I say he doesn't interfere, that is one time that he did interfere with the horse and it cost him. He popped back just a little bit, shifted his weight, and the horse's hind end came down on those planks.
Well, the 10-year-old Dutch-bred gelding will not advance to the jump-off. Let's see if Canada can put another in there with former world champion Gail Greeno, 1986. She stunned the show jumping world with her dramatic victory aboard Mr. T in Aachen, Germany. Only woman, only North American ever to lay claim to the title. And she's on a bit of a comeback, I would say. She's had a great year, and one of the reasons is she's got some great horses. Case in point is Kilkenny Lysandra. Gail Greeno on board for the ride here.
And Lysandra hasn't had a lot of time in this level, at this level. However, Gail has, but again, like you say, she's been out of the competitive ring at this level for a long time, and it does change over the years. So Gail's really had to, her comeback's been a bit of a tough experience. It's always hard when you've been at the top of the sport, and then you enter again a little bit below that. However, this horse is one of the most talented horses that we have in Canada. It's an up-and-coming horse, and it is a real horse to watch for. She doesn't like to touch fences.
Terrific mare, very careful, seems to have a wonderful rapport with Gail. And I think that's really one of the reasons Gail has not been at the top as she was. She and Mr. T had such a special relationship. Looking for the next one has been tough. There's been some nice horses with Simon Says and Fast Eddie, but she's tasted the gold medal podium at the top of the sport, so she wants something special.
And this is a very special horse, and like you say, Ian, they have a great rapport. This horse likes Gail. Great round.
Well done. Canada puts number 2 into the jump off here. The ladies, Gail Greeno and Tanny Ziedler, carrying the Maple Leaf well today, and they'll need to given the nature of this entry. As we look at Laura Kraut of the United States aboard Anthem. What a neat little horse this is. Laura Kraut, part of the Sydney Olympic effort, bases her stable with her husband Robert and Jonathan Miller in Occomawanek, Wisconsin. It's a long way from Wisconsin. They're here for the summer and they're having great results, and this little Dutch horse is one of the reasons why. This is Anthem.
Ian, when we say about horses having a great rapport like Gail Greeno and Kilkenny Lysandra, Anthem and Laura Kraut have a great rapport. And a lot of people looked at this horse, weren't sure. Ian Miller was one of them, and Laura got the horse, and it has just excelled.
It's not a big horse, 10 years of age, but so careful, so kind, and such a big heart.
And that goes to Laura as well, because Laura is a very good rider, but she's also a horsewoman. She likes horses. She makes it her business. Everything about the horse, that's Laura's life. And they repay her, and Anthem certainly repays her.
Well, she started riding at the age of 3. She's had more than 30 years in the saddle. And is looking to put together another signature Laura Kraut round here. Nicely done.
A great round. You saw someone ride straight down the triple combination, and as a result, no faults.
United States puts another into the jump off here at Aspen Ridge. Audi Producers Cup on TSN, presented by Audi, part of the Audi Classics Tour. A day that's seen the clouds roll through the foothills here. There's been some sunshine rounds and some cloudy rounds as Linda Allen's course has posed its share of problems. Number of advance to the jump off. Let's see if Germany's Uli Kohli can do so aboard Kronos. This is a 1991 model Holsteiner. Uli Coley competing for his first time in North America.
And tournament chairman John Anderson, although probably not so pleased with his round, he has to be pleased with the field of competitors, the international field, and the depth of competitors that he has here today.
Well, Uli's no slouch, having come through a very sophisticated German system, which is deep in talent, both horsepower and riders. He is a member of the Golden Rider League, which means he's won 10 international competitions for Germany. He's just had a rail there, so he won't win another one to add to the resume.
He got underneath that oxer and just punched the front rail out. The horse veered out, you'll watch, it bows out a little, and then he just punched that front rail out.
Doesn't leave it at one rail, as Kronos is maybe enjoying the view here in the wide open spaces and not focused on some of these big obstacles that Linda Allen has laid out for horses and riders today. That will be the third on course, 12 faults for our German combination.
This horse just seems to jump a little bit off to the side sometimes, and when he does it, he knocks the fence down.
The 10-year-old gelding finishes up with 12 faults and Uli powers to the outgate.
Look at how much this horse drifts. Way off to the side, and it punches that front rail out of the oxer.
Here's a big Irish gelding, should like the wet turf out here today. We're talking about Dennis Coakley's Dream Point Clover. Big horse, big ground covering stride. Dennis Coakley, veteran of the internationals from Ireland, and the Irish horses like the going on the turf.
And this is a very typical Irish horse. You'll see he doesn't get his head up much. He doesn't cause much of an argument with Dennis, we might say. He just goes along, a little bit like we would say an Irish hunter. He's what we'd call rideable. Dennis can really, he can move up, he can shorten this horse's stride. He's very rideable and really likes his job.
Oh, bit of a back rail incident there, touching it ever so lightly, and the problems continue for Dennis Coakley, now on 8 faults with the big bay gelding.
You'll see a little bit that we talked about Jonathan Miller and Ray Texel not interfering with the horse. You'll watch Dennis's style. Every so often, he pops out a little early, sits up a little bit on top of the fence, and sometimes that causes the horses to drop its hind end. And I think we're seeing that a little bit with this horse.
What we will not see is Ireland advancing to the jump off, as Dennis Coakley finishes up with 3 rails, 12 faults.
You can see here Dennis is up in the air, a little bit upright, a little bit of an unlucky rail. However, lucky or unlucky, he did have 12 faults.
We've got a Hall of Famer on next in Katie Prudent.
That brings in our next entry, Belladonna.
Well, I just had a fall, a simple little fall, and hit my head in such a way. I had my hat on, the hat stayed on, but it just kind of, my head hit the ground, and it was called a rotational injury, where it jerks the brain a little bit, and a tiny blood vessel broke, which anywhere else on your body would be a bruise, but when it's under the skull, it becomes a subdural hematoma, and they had to operate. I had brain surgery, and I was very lucky because I really was fine, but it made me lose my depth perception and my balance for quite a while, so riding was hard for several years.
Katie Prudent alluding to that very unfortunate circumstance a decade ago that just about took her from our sport. She is really one of the all-time greats, both in the ring and as a coach and mentor. When you think of the people that she has influenced in this sport, it is absolutely endless, from the likes of Beezy Madden and Henri Prudent, of course, her husband, Tanny Ziedler, who we saw earlier today, Elise Hawes, the list goes on and on. And right now, she's riding one of the most impressive horses in the sport, Mr. Blue, the big gray stallion.
Katie describes this horse as a pony. And what she means by that is this horse has a classical style. It's very kind. It goes along. She says anybody can ride it. Maybe so, but Katie really is one of the greats of the sports, as you said, and she does such a good job with this horse. Thing about Katie as well, after having an accident like that, some people might be a bit tentative. They might not actually, when they're in the jump-offs, really throw caution to the wind. It might always be in the back of their mind. Katie Prudent does not suffer from that.
One of the fastest, most aggressive riders, and we talked about people who like horses. She is just passionate about horses. She spent some time out here this summer trail riding in the mountains. She loved the horses that were packing her across the rivers. They weren't Mr. Blue by any means, but they got the job done just like he has. A clear round. The United States is showing its form today here at Aspen Ridge. And we will see them again in the jump off. A total of 7 have gone clear here. United States, Argentina, Canada, all advancing to our jump off. It's a long road to the top of the sport, many of whom are cutting their teeth in the junior and amateur divisions, hoping one day to jump at the Grand Prix level. We've just seen the Masters in Katie Prudent host the 7th clear round here in the Audi Producers Cup. And let's hope that Andrea Strain of the United States was watching the great veteran as she now revs the motor up aboard Airmail. This will be big jumping for this combination.
You can really see, if you look at Airmail's ears, the cotton that's stuffed in there. And the reason the riders stuff cotton in the horse's ears is so that they don't become distracted by the wind, extraneous noises. They stay focused, which we've already said a number of times is difficult enough in this ring.
A bit of a stumble as they turn back now across the water, or halfway across the water as it were. 4 faults there.
That was not a good ride. Andrea, at this level, sometimes you just need experience, and you have to compete at this level. You don't see these kinds of fences or these kinds of tests that Linda Allen is asking. And right now, Andrea's getting a little bit of a wake-up call.
Well, and each and every rider at the Grand Prix level of show jumping has had this kind of round as they come in. Talk to the Ray Texels and the Katie Monahans. They will tell you that you've got to pay your dues.
And Andrea is paying her dues, and she needs to walk away from this experience and saying, you know what, I answered some of the tests, I made some mistakes, and come back the next time and improve.
Well, and she rode the triple combination very well there and made an effort to get this horse Airmail back into the center of the line, but then couldn't handle the vertical on the way out. Those skinny planks on the flat cups come down, and a foot in the water and 5 rails down spells 24 faults.
And here, Andrea just made a bit of a riding error. Airmail couldn't have enough of the lift or the distance to cover that wide oxer.
Another young name, a name to remember in the future. She's been very impressive in the summer and fall of 2001 from the United States. Paige Rassis. She's aboard Carlson.
Paige rides with Laura Kraut, so right there she's got the experience of a trainer that competes at this international level. And although, and right now Paige having a little bit of troubles there, obviously the horse completely distracted, bowed Ray out, was looking at the out gate and had no intention of jumping that oxer.
Well, you can see this horse might be predisposed to a little distraction. It's got the flash on the bridle there to keep its eye line focused. The sheepskins coming down the side of the headstall there. Show jumping's equivalent to blinkers. Paige is 24 years old and has had great success, especially with a horse called Chica Bay that has been very impressive to all of us this year. Right now, aboard Carlson, she has a 10-year-old Holsteiner gelding beneath her.
And sometimes this horse just doesn't get up across the oxers. It sort of jumps up in the air and gets way up in the air, but doesn't have enough lift to get across the oxer. And
wanting to come to that triple combination. A nice piece of riding there to get the horse sighted in.
That's something that sometimes all horses, again, as we've said, they're different types of athletes, and this horse just gets a little distracted, jumps into the fence. You can see here, Paige does a good job to even get this horse to jump this oxer, but there's no way it can jump it clean. It's completely lost its focus on the jump and doesn't even want to jump it clean.
Miller on Sharon Kemps with a time of 89.
Welcome back to our first round coverage of the Audi Producers Cup, the Audi Classics Tour from Aspen Ridge in sunny southern Alberta, but the sun has been moving in and out of these somewhat threatening thunderclouds that are rolling in off the Rocky Mountains here. Not dampening the level of competition, however, as Tanny Ziedler is next to go for Canada. We saw her earlier in the competition post a clear round aboard Van Holland, now in with what would be, I guess, considered her veteran horse, a horse she's jumped many Grand Prix and Nations Cups for Canada aboard. This is Starvos, but perhaps he's reaching the end of his line. 1984 Salle Francais gelding.
But Starvos has been such a great horse for Tanny. He was one of those horses that took her into this level and looked after her, so to speak. We saw some of the younger riders have some problems on this course, being in the same situation that Tanny once was. However, Starvos was a great starting horse because even when Tanny made mistakes, Starvos sometimes got her out of them or always kept her safe, so to speak.
Big gelding with a big heart. And now he's carrying her to what has been a clear round to date.
This is a nice position to be in. You're coming in on your second horse. You already have a horse in the jump-off. She won't have her second horse in the jump-off.
4 faults for that rail down. Packaging him up through the triple, getting the job done very nicely.
And you saw there, that was just plain experience. That vertical's a little tight. You could hear her saying, whoa, and that was unfortunate, 4 faults.
Just 1 rail on course, no problems with the running time. Starvos finishes up, but we will see Tanny back for the jump off aboard Van Holland, and we'll see Robert Kraut's wife Laura aboard Anthem. Let's see if the second half of the Kraut combination from the state of Wisconsin can get the job done here, but we should point out that although they're a team, clearly Laura is the pro in the saddle and Robert doesn't have the experience, and he manages the business and competes when he can at the Grand Prix level. He's aboard Atletico.
Ian, Atletico is one of those horses that it runs very hot and cold. Laura Kraut has ridden it. Sometimes it comes in and it's really good, and then there's other times it comes in and you wouldn't think it can even handle this level. Didn't jump the water jump well.
Very flat over the water to pick up 4 faults.
You get that with racehorses. They'll come out in the morning and they'll be absolutely great. You think you have a winner, and then they run very cold in the afternoon. And this is like Atletico. Sometimes he comes into the ring and his focus, and he looks like an absolutely amazing horse. And then there's other times, like today, he just seems flat.
Well, hopefully he won't be flat over these next 4 fences, because that could be very problematic. Oh, stops and ducks out at the last part of the triple combination, and that means that Mr. Kraut and Atletico will have to renegotiate all 3 elements.
And Ian, he just shuts down here at element C. It's not so much that Robert gave that horse a bad ride. He just shut down.
Time marches on. They're definitely out of play today. Let's see if they can get through the triple combination. No, without additional costs as they come towards the final fence. And payday will have to rest on the shoulders of Mrs. Kraut today, because Robert finishes up with a score of 39 faults. 24 jumping faults and a whole passel of time faults tacked on for our entry from Wisconsin. Many have had better days than Robert Kraut. 7 have gone clean today, including Laura Kraut. There she is aboard Anthem. The foothills of the Rocky Mountains in southern Alberta providing the set for today's competition. Ray Texel posted the first of our clear rounds. He's now warming up aboard Fleur. Fleur is the second of Ray's mounts today. Pershing jumped to clear round. Now we'll see if the feisty little mare with the swishy tail can keep up with her stablemate. Ray Texel in for the ride here as we move towards what is currently a 7-horse jump off. Just 2 left before the jump off. Again,
Ray has one into the jump off, so a nice position to be in. And really, when you were comparing these two horses, Pershing and Fleur, it'd be a tough call as to say whether he's on his second horse right now. This horse is an extremely nice horse, and should he get into the jump off, is a very fast horse.
Well, and a very different ride for Ray than the one he has aboard Pershing. You can see she's sort of the classic feisty mare. She's got her tail swooshing back and forth, her ears pinned back between fences, but she's very athletic, and Ray lets her be.
That's exactly right. We've already talked about Ray's style, that he doesn't interfere with the horse. It's a very nice trait of Ray, and it works very well with this type of horse. He also knows now this triple combination. He's seen this line, so the expectation would Ray can get the test done.
Ground breaking up a little bit down that line, but she handles it without problem. And one obstacle left. And our man from Malibu, California, Ray Texel, cruises aboard both Pershing and Fleur. 2 into the jump off with 1 left to go. The reigning North American show jumping champion from Encinitas, California, with his championship partner Malo Bay. This is Hap Hansen. Hasn't been a great summer tour to date for Hap. Just a few problems here, a few problems there. We saw Magnetic not liking the ground here at Aspen Ridge. Let's see what this big Belgian-bred gelding thinks of the going as presented by Linda Allen.
And she really has done a very good job with this track and this course, because she dealt with footing that was perhaps not the best because of the rain, and yet she's given these riders and horses a great test. Not an unfair test, but a great test. And she's really asked a lot of the riders to really step up, jump at a high level. However, again, as I say, it's not unfair.
Well, total of 8 clears to date. An entry approaching 30 horse rider combinations. Very much an international entry.
Although Malibay hasn't had any fences down, it looks to me like this horse, again, isn't really liking the ground. You can see it's a little bit heavy getting out. It's knocked a lot of rails, tipped at a lot of rails.
Some lead legs there at the A element of the triple combination, ensuring Hap Hansen will be done for the day. 4 faults, and that will be the final score for the great veteran from Encinitas, California. Coming into the triple combination, just couldn't get up and over. The same cannot be said for these 8 who have advanced to the jump-off here in the Audi Producers Cup from Aspen Ridge. watching the Audi Producers Cup on TSN, part of the Audi Classics Tour. A classic day in the foothills of southern Alberta. 8 remain alive in the hunt for the Audi Producers Cup. This man has 2 horses into the jump-off. Ray Texel of Malibu, California. A shortened course with heightened fences. In the event of a quality of faults, time will break the ties. First to go, Pollyanna. Is that a good thing for a guy like Ray?
Well, it's a very good thing because he also has the last horse. So Ray has 2 options here. He can go put in a conservative round but clean and make the rest of the field come to him, or he can just let it all hang out knowing that he has Fleur still to come. And from this ride, Ian, I would say he's decided to stay efficient but wants to post the clear round and make the rest of the riders go faster than him but leave the fences up.
Nearing the final line here in the jump off, and he pulls a costly rail. 4 faults now as he opens up the throttle down towards the big blue oxer to finish up. 4 faults, 43.08. So he had some pace, he had some speed, but he had a rail for 4 faults. Double clear will go to the top of the standings.
And that's the problem with this kind of ride. He knocks that Audi fence down, and he's actually been a little slow on course. He was hoping to put in that clear round. It was a bit of a costly mistake, a bit of a decision that he made, but he still has another horse to come.
A little risk management on behalf of Ray Texel as he goes to prepare Fleur for the jump-off round here. And we move to Argentina for our second of 8, Ramiro Quintana aboard Carousel.
And already, Ian, we're seeing a little bit different ride than Ray gave. He's picked up the pace, he's making a tighter turn. He's not worrying about being conservative and making the rest of the field come to him. He's trying to lay down a fast time as well as leave the fences up.
9-year-old Oldenburg mare that's carrying Ramiro around this course right now. Carousel. A good job of it, popping up over that oxer. Here's where Ray Texel had his problem. No worries here for our Argentinian combination as they move now towards the final fence.
And I like that ride.
Double clear for Ramiro Quintana, deceiving. His time was slower than Ray Texel's, but that goes to your point about the efficiency of Ray. However, double clean puts Ramiro Quintana to the top of the standings.
And Ian, I certainly wasn't right about Ray Texel because Ramiro's round looked a lot quicker. However, Ray had the faster time, so it goes to show you how efficiently Ray rode that.
Corners are important. The jump-off course serpentines its way around this jumping field at Aspen Ridge. Now let's see if Mary Moracoli of Wilmette, Illinois can get the job done with Lisa. She wants to go clean in a time faster than 44.83. if she has aspirations to win here today.
The nice thing about Ray Texel laying down a faster round is the riders do know that the time can be beaten.
Rail there, so Ramiro dodges a challenge from the United States in the form of Lisa with Mary Moracoli.
That's the A-B of the triple combination still in. They're actually going the other way across it. However, it's got those sort of offset verticals. Mary and Lisa decided to jump a little bit of the higher side, and it cost them at A.
They had the speed, but the mare didn't seem as settled in as she did in the first round. You can see she pulled a rail there, and that cost them first place today, most certainly. Canada's Tanny Ziedler with Van Holland will be next to take the jump-off challenge here.
It's a different nature riding a jump-off course than it is a first round. In the first round, you can be conservative. You have to stay within the time allowed. However, you can be conservative, worry about leaving the fences up. As soon as you add an element of speed, it becomes way easier for the horses to knock the fences down. They're going faster, and when a horse is going faster, its stride is lengthened, they do tend to be a little flatter.
Tough to get the hind quarters underneath them to jump these immense obstacles. So let's see now if they can keep the package balanced right. A lot of risk management in this sport. Same rail as we saw with Lisa. Just boom, punched it out. Van Hollen picks up 4 faults.
That in and out causes the same problems as it caused with the triple combination. Because it is a little offset, it is hard for the horses to focus in on exactly how high that top rail is.
1 rail down, 4 faults, and a reasonably fast time, but not challenging the top of the standings here. 44.83 the time to beat. 45.62 is that posted by Van Hollen with Tanny Ziedler. In combination with 4 faults, our next Canadian in the jump off will be Gail Greeno, former world champion with this fancy mare, Kilkenny Lysandra. It's pretty simple, Pollyanna, clean and fast.
Yep, that's all that Gail has to do, but she also has to consider that this horse is a little less experienced at jump-offs at this level. So if you ask too much of a horse as it's starting out, that can cause problems. So Gail's had to decide, and I think is being a little conservative because this horse isn't as experienced at a jump-off.
There's a look at our time to beat. Gail will take a double clean for sure. The time would be a bonus if she happens to go faster than our current leader.
And he was a little quicker there to the Oxer. I don't think she has the time.
Indeed she does not. 46.75, double clear, puts Canada into 2nd place here in the Audi Producers Cup.
We'll put them into 2nd place.
As the jump-off action continues, this will certainly provide some interest for our current leader, Ramiro Quintana. Laura Kraut aboard Anthem.
And Laura can be very fast on this horse. And this horse has the experience. Laura will not be conservative.
Got in very deep there. Bought a bit of a break by keeping the rails up on that Oxer. Well, it might not be conservative, but you won't win it with that kind of problems. A refusal. Didn't get the horse set up properly. Look how he works his way through the in and out, though, without very much setup time on the 2nd attempt, but they're carrying 4 faults now.
Just got into trouble. It was actually, again, as so often in this sport, it was the fence before the in and out that caused the problems. The horse really had to work. Laura made a bit of a riding error, really had to work to get out and over that Oxer before heading to the 2 verticals. It slipped a little and just completely lost its focus and got into trouble.
With a refusal, she still gets in across under 50 seconds. 49.91 now. A great combination from the United States. The beautiful stallion Mr. Blue with Katie Prudent. And Katie Prudent grooves on jump-offs and grooves on times that can't be beat. Let's see if she opens up this big stallion and knocks Argentina out of 1st place here.
This is this horse's kind of jump off. There's a little bit of a long gallop to the last fence. There's a lot of turns. This horse, watch how Katie rides a jump off course and watch how she turns.
Big momentum into the 1st fence. That will save time. Starts the corner in mid-air there. Gets the lead change effectively executed.
And you saw she moved right over to the right-hand side of that vertical. She was already turning in the air. She jumped that fence on an angle. For people watching, this is how to ride a jump-off course.
Opens up towards the final fence, gets Mr. Blue packaged up. A clear round, a fast round, nearly 3 seconds faster. 42 seconds flat, knocking 44.83 out of 1st place. With just 1 entry left to go, a master at work in Katie Prudent. Ray Texel's been very busy today. 2 in the 1st round, 2 in the jump off. He's the last to go. He needs to go double clean, and he needs to do it in under 42 seconds if he wants to lead the victory celebrations here at Aspen Ridge today, our final competitor in the Audi Producers Cup.
He is one that can do it. And this horse is fast across its fences, so
Doesn't have the hang time Mr. Blue has. Got the airfoils there up on the ears. Ears pinned back, no wind drag.
oh, this looks like a great round as well. Oh,
4 faults there, a costly 4, and make it 8. And Ray will now let up off the gas pedal, knowing that he will not impact the top placings. Ray Texel finishing up 2 in the jump off, but couldn't get it done today.
he just got into troubles here. He'd had a fence down, perhaps thinking he could move himself up in the scoreboard. He turned over top of that Audi Classic fence and had it down.
Well, the standings are such that United States lays claim to the Audi Producers Cup. Katie Prudent, a masterful jump-off win, clear in 42 seconds. Ray Texel finishing up 5th and 8th. The day belongs to Katie Prudent of Middleburg, Virginia. As the heavens open up here at Aspen Ridge, she lays claim to the Audi Producers Cup aboard Mr. Blue. And now on behalf of Pollyanna Hardwick Brown, I'm Ian Allison. Thank you for joining us on TSN from Aspen Ridge in Calgary, Alberta.